Hello everyone, welcome back to the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. It is I, Captain Logan, and as always my sidekick, Austin, the Day Ghost.
What's up?
And this time we've also got my son Jason joining us for one of his favorite Batman movies. It is Batman Under the Red Hood, and this is our 42nd show, so I guess the answer to the ultimate question of life, the universe, and everything is Batman Under the Red Hood.
Yeah.
It's Superboy Prime punching the universe so hard it breaks.
That's the answer, yeah. That actually makes an
Exactly.
odd amount of sense, even though that doesn't actually happen in this. And thank God, because what was that all about?
Who knows?
We'll talk about this. So this is an odd bird in lots of different ways. I finally read the Judd Winnick comic that this is based on. Judd Winnick, of course, famously wrote both of these things. One of the only times in history that somebody gets to come on and improve on their own work in adaptation. I can't think of a lot of great examples with this. Although the movie that we did commentary for last week, Austin, is in a similar category in that it's an adaptation that improves on the source material, but of course not written by anybody that worked on the original with Captain
Yeah, and I
Civil War.
know I know DeMatteis wanted to do this with Going Sane, but it just never happened.
Yeah, you and I have both always wanted that.
Yeah, it'd be cool. I just want to see Joker on I was gonna say the big screen, but the small screen, I guess, just in some sort of adaptation.
Yeah, no, me too. I've always wanted to see that attempted. But anyway, so I finally read that, and it gave me a little bit of a new perspective on this movie. This is always talked about as, like I said, a giant improvement over the source material, and just based on what I knew about it, I always agreed with that. But I never actually read it, so I didn't really have much of a dog in that. And that is still mostly true, but there are a couple of things that I actually wish Winnick had just stuck to what he did in the first place with, particularly regarding the Joker, and we'll get to that. I have a couple of bigger complaints now that I either never had before or have forgotten if I've talked about them, because, of course, I did a script to rewind on this years ago. I never go back and listen to those, just because I don't want to color my own opinion now too much. I want to talk about this based on the last time I saw it. And I've done at least one commentary on this in the past because of Batmania. So I don't remember what exactly I've said about this movie before. Of course, I always really adored it. I still like it a lot, but we'll see how much my opinion has turned on this. Jason, what is it about this one that grabs you so much? Because when I first showed this to you, you seemed just really kind of enraptured with it.
Yeah, I don't know why I liked it as much as I did the first time around. It's still a good animated movie. Here's the thing. So
you just watched it the other day and you were like, I mean, that was fine.
No, it's still good, but I don't know why I remembered it, because after seeing it, I actually it became kind of forgettable. For me, I kind of didn't remember a lot of it. Going into it a second time for preparation for this stream. So
In your defense, it's been a few years.
yeah,
And it probably made a big impression on you because you were younger when you saw it. And you
Yeah.
probably hadn't even seen this, like violent of Batman with this kind of adult subject matter before.
I really like the character of Jason Todd.
I mean, you probably saw this before you saw the Batman, even.
Probably. I don't remember. But I really like the character of Jason Todd. He's my favorite Robin.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that. Is that just because he also has the name Jason?
No, it might be part of it, but it's spelled differently. So, but I don't know. And him being Red Hood in this very much adds to that and makes him even more of a better character. So, in my
You're one of those Red Hood people.
I like Red Hood. So.
Oh no.
See, one of the reasons I've always appreciated this movie is because I should hate it and I don't, and I think that elevates it a little bit. Because
See, this is all I have to go on.
Oh,
with that
sure.
Character, too. So.
and is oddly a decent introduction to that character, and it shouldn't be. That shouldn't. I mean, I feel like this is for the superhero genre anyway. One of the great examples of my writing mantra, you can make anything work, you just have to make it work, because I don't like the idea of Jason Todd ever coming back. And Austin and I talked about this when we reviewed, we did this all on purpose when we reviewed Death in the Family earlier this week. And I thought about reviewing these comics. Now that I've read them, I might try to do that in the not too distant future. I had to skim some of that, so I would definitely reread it. But I have thoughts about that. People had always told me, by the way, there's really no reason to read that. It's basically this, but just not as good. It's not entirely true. Like, there's some... and I didn't realize how long it was. It's like 10, 11 issues. Wow. And it's there's a lot of stuff that this movie... Like, this, it's just really streamlined that this wouldn't have incorporated or couldn't incorporate. And the biggest thing is just grander DC Universe stuff. They don't do a lot with Superman, but he does show up in that. And there's... I think the story works better in this form because the world is smaller, and I actually don't like it as well in a larger DC universe. Mm-hmm. So one of the ways that this is an improvement on the original to me is just I don't really want it in DC proper. I like this better as its own thing. Yeah.
Well, because
and it doesn't make a lot of sense as its own thing because it requires so much prior material. So that's an exception that proves a rule for me, because I'm always complaining with a lot of these direct-to-video movies that they require, like, a prerequisite. There's knowledge that you have to come to it with, and you have to live in a larger universe. Like, the first of these, we had that problem with Superman Doomsday, where it's like, really, you're just gonna introduce a universe to kill your Superman? Like, that has just always seemed kind of strange to me. It works here. It shouldn't, but it does.
Yeah.
At least they fixed that with Doomsday when they did it again in a continuity.
Yeah, they should have just left well enough alone. Anyway, movie's pretty short. That's why I wanted to get a couple of thoughts out of the way right off. Especially having three of us, this is probably a really bad idea. It's going to be difficult to get out everything we're going to want to talk about in 75 minutes, but we'll do our level best.
It's one of my couple complaints about this movie, but it's also, I mean, it's a direct-to-video DC movie. Like, I can't complain
Your
that
standards
much.
are lower, you're grading on a curve?
Yeah, well, it's like, they're all that long.
Right? Oh, I see what you're saying.
Like, they're all that short, so...
except for the ones that are in two parts.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And this definitely did not need two parts, so...
Yeah, I think it's padded already. Like, there's already stuff where I'm like, oh, we're kind of padding for time here.
Oh, interesting. I'm not having that as much, having read the book, which feels a lot more padded, but I'm curious to see.
Yeah.
And like not in a what is it, Bruce Wayne fugitive sort of way, or like Contagion way, but like a little bit like that. Where luckily it's shorter than those are, but it still could have been done in 6. Like, there's some off the beaten path issues where it just kind of goes somewhere else for a second and comes back, and it does a flashback issue with Jason Todd that doesn't add a lot if you've read any Jason Todd stuff when that was around, but and this does that very minimally.
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, well, let's go ahead and start watching it. If everybody's ready to go, get out your DVD or Blu-ray, however you want to watch it. You can rent it on Amazon for $3.50 and get it at timestamp 0. Get ready to press play when I say now, and we are just about to do that. Thanks for joining us live. Good to see everybody in the comments there. We'll try to interact with you some as we go along. And as always, if you want to make sure that there's some aspect of this we talk about, or just you want your opinion to be heard, you can leave a super chat in any dollar amount, and that guarantees that we'll do that. You can also put in a mini review, a tweet-length review at the $5 tier, patreon.com/geekvolution. And if any more of those come during the show, we'll get them right at the end, so you've still got time to throw yours in. If you are so inclined, $10 tier makes you a Patreon producer. I'll read your name at the end of the show, and you can hang out with us on Discord. We're going to start bringing those back to monthly. We just did one of those last week, and we had lots and lots of superhero movie discussion. Pop in, hang out with us. Anyway, that's just my quick plug for Patreon. Let's get going. Everybody, please press play right now. So, Austin, everything's kind of relative, right? Yeah. Like, I still really like this movie, but they have managed now to make some things that are just as good or nearly as good. When this came out, it was nuts because this was far and away well above anything storytelling or even animation quality, I think, of the few that they had made before this.
Yeah, I mean, I've always said this line is completely worthless except for like 5 movies. I feel like this is kind of the start of when we're about to get them, and then it's gonna kind of be gone for the rest of it until like Man of Tomorrow.
Now, I don't think that's fair. I think that's harsh, but there's lots and lots of mediocre ones that are still fun enough, and I'm glad I watched them.
Yeah, I will say Man of Tomorrow is better than this. I don't know what else is better than this. Because I don't know what... I feel like there's one other... No? I don't know what else I've seen.
It's just that one. I like Crisis on Two Earths well enough.
Yeah, that's the one that I was trying to think of.
Yeah, I've not seen that one, to be fair. I've heard that one is a better one.
And I always liked Justice League New Frontier, but the last time I saw it, it didn't hold up quite as well. But anyway, not to talk too much about the other movies in this line, but just wanted to start in that place. Well, it's nice to get out in front and let us know just how rough and tumble the tone is going to be with this movie. We open right away with Joker beating up Jason Todd with his crowbar, and to get the kids out of the room. This is definitely the most violent we'd let any of these be so far, and my big complaint with some of these before this, and after it too, are just like adult dialogue and swearing and things just for the sake of it to get that PG-13 rating in movies with stories that otherwise would be fine to let your kids see. And this is not like that at all. This is absolutely a movie meant for late teens and adults in the first place.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's true. When did this come out? This is what,
2010. This comes out the year Jason was born.
Oh, wild. Now I just feel old.
Isn't that crazy? And now we're watching Joker beat up a kid with a crowbar in a movie made when my first kid was born.
And they're both named Jason. Wild.
The movie opens right away with one of my big complaints and this one has always bothered me, but it bothered me even more this viewing, and that is Ra's al Ghul's an idiot in this.
Mm-hmm.
He is really stupid for working with the Joker, and I've had this with other things. I complained about this with World's Finest, where it's like, well, Lex, what did you think was going to happen? Like, why are you working with a psychotic madman like the Joker? Here, it's almost worse because you get it with two villains, with Ra's al Ghul and then later Black Mask, who both think. Not only is it a good idea to team up with the Joker, but also that he's just the only person they think of. It's like this movie has 3 Batman villains in it. Like, Ra's al Ghul just needs a distraction. How am I going to distract Batman so that he won't mess with my plot to generically topple the... what does he say? Currency in Europe. As he does. That sounds like just another day at the office for Ra's al Ghul. He's just gonna topple the economy in Europe. No explanation as to why now or what what exactly he's trying to accomplish. Just I was trying to topple and I figured Batman was gonna probably mess with me, so I needed a distraction. What distraction could I use? How about the Joker? There's like 100 other Batman villains you could use. And then Black Mask, it's the exact same thing.
He has other henchmen, too.
Yeah, there's so many different things you could do. And then you get to Black Mask, and it's like, I need someone to kill Red Hood. The only person I can think of is the Joker. After the fearsome Hand of 4 or whatever it is, it's like... And he didn't even hire them.
Mm-hmm.
He just had no other ideas.
This should have opened with Joker beating him to death and being like, "Toodaloo, Robin, I gotta go become the ambassador of Iran."
Yeah, exactly. I know you wish they'd adapted that instead. I know in your...
No, you can't adapt that into this.
I know in your...
No.
No, I know in your heart of hearts you wish that instead of Under the Red Hood, we had done a 75-minute version of Death in the Family, and it had...
I hope that
Joker
were getting that when they announced that they were doing that.
No, and instead they made it really short. It's not even long enough to be a feature.
Yeah. At that point, like, why bother?
And it's interactive,
Yeah,
also just to pad it out.
What was the interactive part of it? What do you even do?
Well, you get to pick, like the readers did with the phone poll, whether Jason Todd lives or dies.
Oh.
And you get to see what happens.
Like 3 choices you make throughout. Yeah,
there's different choices.
Like, I think Batman can die, like Jason can die, maybe Joker can die, I don't know.
Netflix has done a couple things like this now, and they were kind of following that thing. I bought it. I watched the first 15 minutes and didn't realize just how much of it was going to be recapping this movie. And I didn't want it to be in this continuity. Like, I wanted them to, if they were going to do that, like, more directly adapt Death in the Family. Because Death in the Family is simplified so much in this movie that there's really not much you could do with it as a feature, which is why it wasn't feature length. Because you don't have Jason Todd going to find his mother, and you don't have the Joker with Iran and all of that, and you probably want to replace some of that with something different, Austin, if you were adapting it now, I would imagine. But still, I just feel like we get everything in this that you'd have in that, like... And that's a credit to this movie. Like, it simplifies it to the point where I'm not feeling like this is a sequel to something I didn't see. It feels like actual honest-to-God backstory.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely.
I will complain that the opening titles are a little generic. I like the animation all throughout this, and I like the images that they chose for that. But it'd be cool if it had... If it had kind of a theme that didn't just feel like score. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
But it screams direct-to-video, and
say,
this movie's a little better than that.
Yeah, there's a super chat about that. Robert gives $5. Robert Wild. He says the animation in this is mostly pretty good, but compared to later direct-to-video DVD DC movies, it looks like a freaking masterpiece, and I love the score. I definitely agree with that, but I also do think this entire package, I think, does kind of feel like just 3 episodes of a show that doesn't exist. That was something I really had this viewing. Um, which I mean is fine. Like it is a straight to DVD movie, but like I don't know, it's okay.
That's actually something I really like about it, though. Austin
Yeah.
is this viewing. It's funny because we both sort of thought of that, but me more positively. Because something I never really gotten with this until this viewing is this feels like Batman the Animated Series season 12 or 15.
I agree.
It's
Oh, see,
like
I think it's more with like the Batman than TAS.
oh, I had a lot of TAS with this, and this is right around. This is right before Arkham City comes out, and I had very much the same thing that those games are doing, which is that show for the same audience that has grown up now. And I know, and I wonder how much Alan Burnett brought to that, because I know, and we talked about this last week, that or earlier in the week, I guess, that I they had kicked around doing the Jason Todd death in that show, and they just didn't think that they could put it on TV for Saturday morning at that point. Now, obviously, the takes on Batman and the Joker are a little different than that show, but the flavor of everything else feels like that, but just for a more adult audience to me.
Yeah, I think what hurts me from having that is that, and again, so today when I rewatched this, I had like probably the worst viewing I've ever had of this. Well, not probably, I just did. Not that I didn't like it, it was just okay. But I think what hurts me from having that is that a lot of this just kind of feels like Diet Phantasm. So I'm like, I've seen TAS do basically this kind of an idea and way better.
Well, and I did have that where I'm like, yeah, this is not holding a candle to Phantasm to me. If we're looking at best animated series, or sorry, animated Batman movies in general, because we were just talking about direct to video earlier, it's probably like fourth for me,
With
or maybe third, because this and Return of the Joker would kind of bat back and forth for me. It's hard to decide which of those to put above the other one.
and also my thing with this is I actually kind of prefer animated Batman to live action Batman. In most cases, I really like TAS and I really like the good animated Batman movies.
Just for style, or the way Batman
yeah.
tends to be characterized over live action?
Mostly style, but and it depends on the thing as far as characterization of Batman. But I mean, my triad of animated Batman movies is definitely Mask of the Phantasm, Return of the Joker, and this. And both of those movies are definitely kind of this, like this is kind of doing a mix of both of those movies.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
it's still good.
The first big misstep I think this does in adapting from the comics is using a mazo. I don't know why we do that. That should have been changed, because
Yeah.
without any grander DC Universe stuff, his appearance feels really random and egregious.
Well, I think too, this is 5 minutes that is just kind of wasted. And I have no issue with introducing Batman in an action scene, like kind of James Bond style, where he's already on some sort of an adventure. But I don't know why you do it this way with a Mazo. Like it's just really out of place.
And this is a cliche with these movies at this point. Like this is a mistake a lot of these make, where they'll open with a big action scene that's not connected enough to the rest of the story. At least it is connected at all. Like at least it's not a totally random action scene that's totally throwaway. Like this is cargo that Black Mask has brought in. This is how he's going to find out about Black Mask and everything in the first.
How do you know that?
About yeah, we'll talk about that. About Red Hood and everything in the first place. But yes, that line is weird. Why does everyone know that Nightwing used to be Robin? I don't understand that.
because this isn't connected to anything, so we have to establish stuff. And they didn't know how to get that in.
That is one of the silliest ways to get to get exposition dialogue I've ever seen, where just random henchmen know the backstory.
Also, we have a fight in the middle of like cargo later in this movie as well, and so it just feels kind of like doing the same kind of fight over again.
Yeah, it's fair. Now I will say
Yeah,
that
when I also think it's really awkward that we're doing like a more grounded kind of like crime thing, and then we have this Amazo fight, and then later on we have the what are they, like the fearsome four? What are they
yeah.
called? Something like that, which are like way more sci-fi, and I don't think really fit into this movie. I would have changed who those characters are.
Well, and those are actually changed from what it is in the comic to that, which makes it weirder.
Yeah,
Now, in the comic, it's, I kid you not, Captain Nazi and the Hyena.
yeah.
What?
They should
Why?
they should have left
Hyena and Bruno.
they should have
from
left
Dark Knight
Captain Nazi
Returns.
in the movie. That was amazing. But
It was Amazo.
when we get, yes, it's amazing. But when we get there, I'll mention a line that's really funny in the other context that they left in this. I A surprising amount of this is lifted directly from the book, and dialogue is verbatim. And I was actually really surprised by how much of the final confrontation with the ultimatum with Red Hood, or with Jason trying to get Batman to kill the Joker, is exactly as it is in the book. I figured that was probably retooled from whatever story he was telling there. How we get there is very different.
Yeah, I think the big thing people like this over the book is just that it's a lot more convoluted in the comic.
So Jason Todd's return is more convoluted. How we get the
That's what I
Joker
mean.
involved in this version is convoluted, and it isn't in the book. And that's the big thing that I'm wishing had been left. And I'll bring that up when we get to more Joker stuff, because I want to ask you guys uh, how you feel about my idea with that and what I think we should have done. But yeah, like I said, it's also just weird having a Mazo when I don't think you even have a good sense of what he's supposed to be in this, not having any other DC stuff, because he's supposed to have like powers of Justice League characters, and there's no mention of Superman or Justice. He's just, oh, he can fly and he's got heat vision, and where did he get all of that?
That's like way too much for Batman.
And again, that is what they fight in the book. And it's not like
Yeah,
he's got a
I
whole
do
team with him.
remember that.
It's still just Batman and Nightwing, and they beat him the same way.
Question: is there any reason for Nightwing to be in this?
Yes, there is. Nightwing, I
Yeah,
think, is
so
actually crucial to the story. Because he's the original Robin, and he proves that Batman is not a total failure. You need the contrast of who a good Robin grew up to be versus Jason Todd's kind of dark mirror for Batman, as
Yeah.
as what Batman could have become if he let himself do something like killing the Joker, which is kind of the whole point of the piece. And something that
Yeah, I think that's also why we kind of clean up their relationship a little bit, because they aren't as like buddy buddy in the comics as they are in this movie. But like you kind of have to have that to make this work.
No, and that's why I like this story in this context a lot better than where it happened in comics, and just how much baggage there is with the history before that. This is able to streamline and simplify everything down to, and I like how ambiguous it is, where we don't actually know this for sure, but Jason Todd and Dick Grayson might be the only Robins. He might not have employed another Robin by now. We're never told that. I really like that we're never told that. And I think this story is more interesting for Batman if Jason was his greatest failure and he never brought another Robin on. And that's one of the
Yeah, I
reasons I
think that
don't
works better like that.
I don't
too.
like bringing Red Hood back after he's already more or less made his peace with it after Tim Drake and everything. I think it's way sloppier. And so the only way you can really tell this story, and I'm going to get anything out of it, I guess, is if it's an Elseworlds kind of thing, or it's kind of its own little universe, like we're doing it here.
Okay, but why do cards just show up?
I guess they were in his costume.
Uh,
Yeah, it is lucky deck.
Yeah, Carl Grissom told him not to forget his lucky deck.
Exactly. I will say the cast of this movie is really great. Everyone's really good in their roles. From Neil Patrick Harris's Nightwing to Greenwood, I think is maybe my favorite animated Batman after Conroy. It's him or Bader, I guess.
I'm gonna say the only thing I don't really like is this Batman. I don't know. He sounds too.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't think he fits the role of Batman well enough, but I got used to him like through the movie.
No, I think he's quite good.
I mean, fair enough. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you.
And I think Neil Patrick Harris is a really good Nightwing.
And it's very distinct from his Spider-Man, and it could have just been his Spider-Man. So I think that's cool too.
Yeah, he's putting on more of a like stalwart hero voice.
He's a bit deeper than his Spider-Man is.
But you can see the casting because he plays it so arrogantly.
Yeah, and I
And,
mean
like,
he's just really good at doing that like fun-loving thing.
Well, he's got this charm to him where he's bragging about something in every scene, and like that, Neil Patrick Harris is perfect for that.
Yeah, exactly.
Dan Schneider put in a $5 super chat and says, Raish might have thought it was just like another Batman adventure where they just beat the Joker and nobody dies, not crazy for a distraction. I mean, I guess, but again, he could have used any other villain, and Joker is the most unpredictable of that rogues gallery, and I feel like Ra's al Ghul, like of anybody, ought to understand that that's going to be a hard person to control. If he just looks at the history of it. You also look at how much he cares about order, and that he's the Dark Mirror for Batman on the other side, where he's what if Batman just tried to control everything and wasn't and didn't care about who he had to kill in order to get there, of course. And the Joker is the absolute opposite of that guy. And you'd think you'd want to use somebody that, if not in line with your values, is just easily manipulatable. Like Ra's al Ghul is all about is like completely against corruption of any kind, and I would think like mental corruption would be a really off-putting thing to him. It just feels like a way
we have no character of Ra's in this movie. He doesn't have any of that in this world. He's just like, screw it, I'm gonna hire the Joker.
Yeah, but I'm and this is kind of that question of prerequisite and how much of Batman lore and characterization you're supposed to already understand coming into a thing like this. I can't help but read a lot of that into this Ra's al Ghul. You're absolutely right. There's not very much of that in it, but just the choice thematically of that character in a story about somebody like Red Hood who thinks that Batman needs to control crime instead of fighting crime feels like a very deliberate choice.
No, for sure. And I mean, I think that is just something that this line struggled with the entire time. Is just, who is it for at the end of the day? And I think the answer is just fans who already are kind of in the know.
Yeah. This, I think, does it better than, again, a lot of the others, where some of that stuff, there are layers both positively and negatively with you and I, Austin, because we know our stuff. But I do think that the overall story and ideas and the kind of Shakespearean drama of it hold together fine if you've never seen anything.
No, for sure. No, I think it does a good job of setting up what you need to know, at least for the main story.
So Jason was asking me the other day what the big comic book Black Mask story is, and I kind of struggled to give him anything because I haven't read a ton of Black Mask, and I know him primarily from No Man's Land. But then going back and reading the comics, for some people, even though this isn't like a beloved comic story or anything until you get to this movie, it might be this. Because he is a lot more featured in that than I realized he was, and of like famous, like major Batman stories that he's involved in, this might be the biggest of them. Besides No Man's Land, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I feel like I more so know him for just random issues and then
Yeah.
things like this. Yeah, so it is hard. Yeah.
I do like his characterization in this a lot. I like him as kind of a comic relief villain, and it's a little bit risky though because then you've also got the Joker, who himself is supposed to be a comic relief villain, and I don't know if it's and scarier than Black Mask certainly, but I don't know how I feel about having a villain in your movie that is funnier than the Joker, because next to Black Mask, I don't think this Joker is that funny. He's got a couple of moments, but every time Black Mask is on screen, I'm cracking up. Like I love his just constantly taking out his rage on his own henchmen and punching him out. And then when we get the line of them later, like you just know what's gonna happen. It's really funny. There's just four of them all lined up. You're just waiting for him to come up and start knocking them out. And then he does, and it's great. And he's characterized that way in the comics also, but when we're first introduced to him, it feels like he's going to be really different because he's really smiley and he's sadistic and he's enjoying everything he's doing, and you think he's just going to be like a real gleeful villain all the way through. And then when Red Hood starts screwing with his territory, he light flip switches into this character.
Oh, okay. So it's been so long since I've read the book. I assumed that was a change for the movie.
Yeah, it's not. He kind of turns into that. And he's not played as funny as he is in this, although a couple of his funniest lines do come from the book. What do you think this is, a tennis tournament? That comes from the book. And that's my favorite thing he says. I think that's really funny. He's gonna play the winner? What do you think this is, a tennis tournament? Red Hood is real talky in this like he is in the book, but boy, he just goes on for pages and pages in the book. The guy does not shut up.
He's got to fill 10 issues, Gav.
So, Austin, tell me how you feel this is Diet Phantasm.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel like it's kind of Diet Phantasm in that you have, a character coming back from Bruce Wayne's past that is now Batman, but with kind of his restrictions taken off. And then they're going to go after the Joker at the end of the day because the Joker is kind of one of the big people that kind of screwed them over and is part of the reason that they are who they are. It's just, I don't know, it's stuff like that.
And represents that extreme.
I feel like it's got a...
Yeah.
It's got a very similar outline, and then on top of it, I just don't think that this comes anywhere near that. Like, both in terms of animation and just writing and storytelling, too.
Well, and they're both about characters that Batman lost in some way.
Exactly.
A
One
huge
is
tragic
a
part of his
love,
past.
obviously. One is a
protege.
Protege, thank you.
And they're both like past coming back to haunt you stories.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And they have very similar endings too, where they finally get the Joker and then everything explodes.
I don't love how we get there. I don't know why this Red Hood is constantly trying to blow up everything all the time. In the book, Batman has a lot of like mini explosions, mini explosives. We do that, but this Red Hood is, every time you go into a room with him, he's got a contingency where he's gonna blow it up for some reason. When he goes into that, I I can't remember if it's a train later or what, but he sets explosives. And that's another thing that made this feel like animated series to me, is just all the blimps. But anyway, there's you're gonna have a bit here in a little bit where it feels like he sets bombs just to escape, and I guess he just figures Batman's good enough. Oh, right here, it's not a train. It's this building here. That like somehow he could just know for sure that Batman's gonna survive this. I guess because he's Batman. And like I suppose that works, but it just seems a little much. It seems a little over the top.
Yeah, I mean,
because his whole plan is to teach Batman a lesson, or to like force Batman to see things from his point of view. So if this backfired and he accidentally blew Batman up, like he wouldn't be very happy about that. It would ruin his whole plan.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think this movie also, like Phantasm, is kind of wants to be more of like a detective thing, or should be more of a detective thing. And it's kind of just more concerned about going from action scene to action scene.
Well, that's something I wanted to ask you guys about. So I had this viewing, and again, I can't remember if I've ever complained about this before, but especially after reading the book, it bothered me more. And I don't mean to just keep comparing them too much, but with this in particular, I think it's fair because it's Judd Winnick rewriting his own thing. And there are ideas that he had before that I think might have served this movie better. Not a lot of them, but a couple. And one of them is, I don't think the master manipulation plot with getting Black Mask to break the Joker out of Arkham in order to set Batman up to a position to have to try to shoot him, I think it's too convoluted, and I just think it's completely unnecessary. In the book, the Joker isn't in Arkham. He's just like out operating in a in like a bad guy lair, and right at the start of the book, Red Hood goes and gets him before you're supposed to know that it's Jason Todd, and kidnaps him, and then he hangs on to him for issues and issues until you get to the end, and he sets Batman up with that ultimatum. I don't know why we couldn't have done that here. Because here it plays like, well, he's in Arkham and Red Hood has no way to get him out, and he needs somebody with the resources that Black Mask has to get him out of Arkham. And I go, you could have just not have him in Arkham in the first place. He wasn't in the book. Why did he even need to be there? I guess just to give Joker more screen time. Like I think Joker is way too prominent in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
And that worked in Phantasm, where we don't introduce him until the third act. You know, if we want to compare it to that.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's also just he pops up. It's not as convoluted to get to him.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I said, and with that, it's also not as convoluted to get to him. Like, it's not like a big deal of like, how are we going to get him involved with the story? He just kind of pops into it.
Yeah, exactly. In the book, this is not Riddler, it's Captain Boomerang.
Oh. Weird.
And again,
my fourth favorite DC character almost made it into this.
Again, I'm assuming that's changed just to make this more of a Batman thing. And I think it's vaguely thematic in the book that it's Captain Boomerang because Jason Todd died and came back. He came around like a boomerang. And the only thing I can come up with, like a pretentious read in making it the Riddler here, is just question mark. Batman's trying to figure out who this is, and it's going to turn out to be Jason Todd. And then when he, I don't know if this is intentional, but when we get the flashback with the Lazarus Pit, and the smoke billows up, for a second it's in the shape of a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that's on purpose, but I thought of that. I'm like, well, you put the Riddler in your movie for 5 seconds, and you had a question mark.
And he's played by Bruce Timm, even though he just grunts.
All he does is grunt.
I guess Resurrection is the ultimate riddle. Young Jason Todd is also voiced by Phineas from Phineas and Ferb, and I found that like really funny this time because it's a show my siblings were really into.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Oh, I just
Yeah, it's just kind
realized
of
that when
amusing.
you said that. No, you're.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like a negative or anything. It's just kind of amusing where I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I know this voice.
So to your point about this being played as more of a mystery story than it really is, I'm of two minds about opening the movie with Jason Todd's death
Hmm.
because
This is the
it
best scene.
because it makes Red Hood's unmasking not at all a mystery for the audience. And that gets back into that who is this for question, Austin, because any comic people coming into this, we're all gonna know who Red Hood is already. Like we know that that's Jason Todd. But for the sake of the narrative, if you open this with we saw Jason Todd get murdered by the Joker with a crowbar, and we've already had Batman holding his broken body like the comic cover and all of that, then the moment you get this new mysterious character that's trying to take territory from Black Mask, already you're going, well, that's who that's got to be.
Hmm.
And I wonder if it might have been more effective just narratively if the movie opened with either just an initial confrontation with Batman and Red Hood where Batman's wondering who he is, or, and this would rewrite the story, but it would write it back to closer to the comics, I open it with a scene of this mysterious Red Hood guy going and beating up the Joker. Because if you haven't, like, you could make a flashback with Jason Todd's death a payoff to our seeing Red Hood beat the Joker up with a crowbar. And I just wonder if that wouldn't have been more effective.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess you can still open with the death of Jason Todd and still have that question of is it really that or is it somebody that maybe knew about it? Almost like a I know what you did last summer type situation where it's like, is it him or is it not? You could still have that, I guess.
Yeah, but then I think I want Batman questioning it a little bit earlier than he is.
Hmm. No, of course.
It's that,
Tyler Sayers
and then
says,
Arkham Knight is going to have that problem in spades. That's the big Arkham Knight
yeah.
problem. Is why are we doing all these flashbacks to Jason Todd if that's not who Arkham Knight's going to be? And oh, surprise, surprise!
It was the character everybody knew he was the second he walked on screen.
And then here's these
Yep.
Rob Liefeld characters for no reason.
Yeah, exactly. Because the point of this is ultimately just, oh, he killed one of these villains. And I don't know, like he's already killing people before this, and I feel like it's just kind of wasting time for like another 5 minute action scene. Which is also just kind of awkward because now we have like Batman Beyond villains.
Well, I will counter that a little bit just by saying that the role this fills in both versions of the story is letting Batman and Red Hood team up for a minute,
Hmm.
so that Batman can kind of assess him and get a sense of whether it really is him. Because this is still supposed to be kind of a mystery for him. Where he's like, it's not possible he came back from the dead, so surely it isn't that. And I do like that he's still not sure about it, partly because it seems impossible, and partly because he doesn't want it to be true, almost all the way up until the mask comes off.
Hmm. Yeah, when I agree with that, obviously. I don't think it's brought enough to the forefront. As
Or,
much as I think it's more concerned just getting more action in.
yeah. And you're right about that. It's just smarter about it than it is with some of these other movies. And that's why it is a
Oh,
little hard
100%.
not to
This is
grade
still
on a
at the
curve.
top of like I'm kind of, bringing a lot of criticism to this movie. I still think it's in that top 5 of the good ones. Like I have more issues with it than I ever had. But no, absolutely.
And it does help that the action is really well handled.
Yeah, it's fine.
Like, personally, I think it all looks pretty
Um,
good.
yeah. That's what I mean. Where I'm like, I wish it was more of a detective movie where it's actually Batman trying to figure out if it is Jason Todd or
Batman
not.
going through that car is awesome.
Yeah, that's really neat. I don't even know how you
That is cool.
storyboard
Yeah,
that. But I guess you
they're
have
not
to.
going to try anything like that again now.
But I don't know how much of
If
that.
these even still exist.
I don't know how much of that you can blame on. Uh, these movies always have to be a bunch of action set pieces strung together, and how much of it you want to blame on Judd Winnick in what he did with his original story, because it was also oddly action driven.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like I said, I haven't read it in forever, but I do remember it being better. But I mean, I think I would still agree with that at this point. But I just have more issue with it. I think I'm having the same thing I did when we did Dark Knight Returns, where we read that book and then watched the movie, and I was like, oh, this is just the book but lamer. I'm like, oh, this is a little lamer than I remember it being, and I don't know if that's also because I enjoyed Death in the Family when we did that. I don't know.
Well, and again, the difference here is at least this is adapting a more flawed book in the first place than Dark Knight
Yeah,
Returns,
exactly.
where you're comparing that to a thing that you there's not really a lot of improvement you'd want to see made on the page. And this
Mhm.
book, you really need to start with the Lazarus Pit in the first place, which is not really Judd Winnick's fault because he was kind of stuck with the Final Crisis thing.
Mhm.
Because I think I might be wrong about this, but I think that decision was just made for him already, and so he had to like kind of work his way backwards and figure out what to do with it. Because he shows up in I think it's Final Crisis, right?
I don't know. I've never read Final Crisis, so I don't know. I thought it was just Red Hood. Was the first place he popped up in. I know we like hint at it in Hush, but that's just what gave Winnick
Oh no, no, it is Hush.
the
That's
idea to do
right.
it.
But Red Hood, whether it's retconny or not, goes back and says that that's when he did get resurrected. Was during that.
Mhm. Which is awkward because he's very much not alive in that
Yeah,
book.
and I don't remember what it was. Like like
It's just
he got
Clayface.
resurrected, but he's yeah. Red Hood has a whole diatribe about that where it's like
Oh, people are
Clayface
saying it's Infinite Crisis you're thinking of.
Infinite. Okay, Clayface. He says replaces him. So I guess it's supposed to be him maybe in part of that scene? I'm not sure. No, I was thinking
Gotta love comics.
I was thinking about Hush. I couldn't remember where that scene was, if it was in Hush or Final Crisis, but you're right, that's in Hush. And it's so random and out of place in that book that I always forget where exactly it is. So yes, in that case, John Winnick did not have to then say that somehow it was him in part of Hush. I don't know. But interestingly, the Lazarus Pit thing does partly come from the source material. And I didn't
Hmm.
remember that. There's this whole, and this is a massive improvement on the book, but there's this weird thing toward the end of that where after he comes back from the dead, he doesn't talk and he doesn't seem to have many of his memories. And Talia al Ghul takes him in and then puts him in a Lazarus pit, and the Lazarus pit gives him his memories back.
Oh, what? Well, then why not just
Yeah, I
okay?
remember it being like part of it, but not the reason he comes back to
It's
life.
not the reason he comes back to life, and Batman immediately goes, "Oh, maybe it's a Lazarus pit," and he finds out very quickly that it wasn't. And at first, it looks like it's because he at some point got all the Lazarus pits closed down, but there's like one left that could have brought him back. So John Winnick still could have used that, but he didn't.
Mm-hmm.
This movie should have opened instead of the death of Jason Todd just with Superboy punching the universe.
I love how he just punches everyone, and then doesn't punch her.
Yeah, it's really funny. She
Yeah,
is,
Mercy.
yeah, she is gender flipped from the book to
Oh,
turn into more of a Mercy character. I like how he
Okay, I couldn't
says,
remember if any of that was there.
I like how he says caught in the crossfire, and then immediately there's a red dot on his head. That's pretty great.
Why didn't he just fire though?
Because it's more dramatic this way,
so that
Austin.
the fire exit can
Yeah,
come
you're right. You're right.
crashing down on Black Mask
He does the same
That
thing
was
in
his
the book,
actual
too.
plan. He just wanted to kill him with that door.
with a fire exit door.
That's-
like very strategically planned that exact shot.
Jason,
Yeah.
that seems really similar in the book too.
Yeah.
Where he has the same line where he says, "Well, he can run really fast when he wants to."
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this is where it starts to go a little off the rails for me. When Black Mask goes, "Oh man, now he's put me in the position where I have to work with a lunatic," and I'm like,
No, you don't.
"Really?"
Because in
That's
the
the-
comic, doesn't he get Mr. Freeze?
He gets Mr. Freeze, and then he gets Deathstroke.
Oh, that's even better.
Yeah.
I didn't know why he got
He just
Mr. Freeze,
immediately
but-
goes, the only possible answer is the Joker.
I would have.
The only possible answer is go break a psychotic man out of a mental
Okay, so
institution.
I don't know if you said this, but how does Joker come back then?
He's just not, he's not in Arkham.
Oh, okay.
He's already out, and he's just working out of like a dilapidated carnival or circus or something, and then Red Hood just goes and finds him and kidnaps him. Speaking of that, I wanted to read this comment. RJ Godzilla says, capturing the Joker and holding him for a while makes the Joker seem less dangerous and hurts how big a deal Joker is supposed to be. It just seems to be a worse idea. I don't agree with that. Now, maybe that's a fair argument for this being a standalone movie and the Joker doesn't feel like he has any menace, but yeah, everybody coming to this knows who the Joker is and how psychotic he is and all the people he's murdered and stuff. And if you do open it with the flashback, even though I'm not sure you ought to, but if you do open it with the flashback with Joker beating a Robin to death, you've seen how menacing he is already. And so, and it's also important to note that Red Hood is the real villain of this piece. So, I mean, Joker already is a side character in this drama and serves that grander narrative. The whole point is that Red Hood is the, like, twisted antithesis to Batman that thinks, again, that Batman should be controlling crime rather than stopping crime, and that like this is my big takeaway this time, both watching this and then reading the book, and I think this is a great idea if you have to bring Jason Todd back, is this idea that for each of these characters the other guy is the tragedy. That for Batman, this is the sad, twisted, dark version of himself, and Jason Todd feels the same way going the other way. That if only Batman could understand his position, he would realize that that taking over and being the lesser of two evils is the answer for how to clean up Gotham. And he's he's sick and messed up and doesn't see the massive flaw in his logic, which is actually kind of the X-Men Magneto thing, which is you're making it all about what is the actual goal. Is it to make Gotham safer, or is it to fight crime? Like, which is it? What it really is just revenge, is just vengeance. And what he's really upset about is that Batman won't kill the Joker to avenge his death. And that's like all it really is at the end of the day. And so he doesn't realize how selfish and petty he's being. But that's why I don't need all of this with the Joker. In like killing Black Mask's men and then kidnapping him and all of that. That was the thing that really worked for me in the original version. I liked him
Yeah,
getting
for sure. I
kidnapped
mean,
and forgetting
guess
about him for the whole story, and then he comes back. Like I only need him uh, in the story in relation to what he did to Jason Todd.
I mean, I guess we do like just as a standalone movie need something for it to be like like a big third act.
You don't think it's enough
And
just to see
I
him kill the kid in the first place?
uh, I don't know. Like I understand where they're coming from and like wanting to have some sort of big action sequence with the Joker for Red Hood and Batman to like have to deal with. And people are mentioning too that initial scene with Arkham, with the Joker and Batman, and that like I can see wanting to keep that too.
Sure. The other thing I like about uh, doing the story before Batman, ostensibly before Batman has a third Robin, Austin, is I like, and of course I'm just imagining the future of this, but I like Ra's al Ghul's involvement, accidental involvement in the death of Jason Todd. If later on you're going to have Damian Wayne. Like
Oh, okay.
if you rework the Batman continuity that way, that's really interesting. Batman and Risha's relationship together with all of that.
Yeah, I mean, there is part of me that wishes that this was just a show. Because, like I said, I already kind of have that feeling with it, and there's that part of me that just kind of wishes that we, had that where we could have a future after this and stuff before it.
If all he needed was a distract, like how long does the distraction have to go? Couldn't Rish have just dressed up someone as the Joker? Like, did it even need to be the Joker? He says all he
He
needed
could have
was a
just
wild
sent
goose chase.
Talia. He could have just sent Talia in a bottle of champagne. That would have been enough of a
That's a
distraction.
distraction. What a good point.
And then you don't have the death of Jason Todd, but you do have the creation of Damien.
Just that night, that's when it happened.
Mm,
We're
yeah,
witnessing the conception of Damian Wayne. We don't even realize it.
exactly.
We have
It's an
fixed this
addition
movie.
in the family now.
We Everyone loves this movie, but we've improved it. We fixed it. I do really like this idea that Raish has, was like again accidentally involved with the death of Jason Todd, and that he feels really bad about this and vows not to,
Mhm.
war with Batman again. I just think he's working with the Joker in the first place is kind of dumb.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. Like, that makes sense, but just how we get there doesn't clearly.
Austin, your mic's all fritzing out on us.
Oh no, is it still bad?
No, it's fine now. I think you just can't touch it.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad. No, I just said like it makes sense what we do with it, but just not how we get there.
Yeah. Well, it's just a contrivance to come up with a different way for Joker to get there in the first place than he does in the comics.
Hmm. Yeah, and I completely forgot that we still kept that Jason died abroad. For some reason, I always think that he just dies in Gotham in this movie, but he doesn't. I was kind of impressed by that.
No, here it's Bosnia.
Hmm.
We talked over it earlier, but Jason, did you think it was amusing when Alfred uh, just buys the dead corpse as being a corpse?
Yeah. Yeah, that's
He's old,
interesting.
his eyesight's bad.
Yeah.
He goes, well, that settles it. And I'm like, the corpse hasn't decayed at all.
I
It's
think he's just
obviously a
trying to
dummy.
find any way for like himself to like not be like, oh, he's still dead. But
Mhm. Yeah, and I like the kind of Frankenstein of this rebirth sequence. That's cool. Where he's all wrapped up and stuff, and we lower the body down.
Yeah, how do you feel about the ambiguity of whether the Lazarus Pit made him, twisted him? I like is that too ambiguous? Is that too complicated? Where like maybe you can't fully blame everything he's doing on his own, uh, like like on himself, on just where he came from and what's happened to him.
Hmm. I mean, it's hard to say because that's one of those things where, like, you do come into this with like preconceptions, so it's like I'm just so used to that being the kind of starting place with the Lazarus Pit. But yeah,
Yes.
no, I think that works. Having a question, but I wish we maybe talked about it a little bit
Well,
more.
the ambiguity of it is baked into the movie, though. They do talk about that.
Mhm.
Because toward the end, that's the line that Jason has when he says something about like maybe it brought me back rabid. Like that's in
Mhm.
there.
Mhm. Yeah, I just mean, like a little bit more, like maybe Batman's questioning it. You could maybe have a scene with him and Alfred.
I guess what I'm wondering is that there to give him a little bit of an out where he's more sympathetic, or is it just kind of an interesting question? Because I like it better than, and I like this movie, but I like it a little bit better than the Wanda thing in Doctor Strange 2, where I do feel like that in that movie is like a little bit of a cop out, where she is
Hmm.
sort of possessed, and is like too under an influence. Where I want her to just be doing everything of her own accord. And with
Hmm.
this, either thing could get him there, and so it's more interesting wondering about it. I also don't think you have to have it, but then how else do you bring him back from the dead? Like Lazarus Pit is such the obvious, easy way in Batman to do that, and that is baked into Lazarus Pit. I
Hmm.
so I don't see. I was just wondering what you thought. I don't really see it as an excuse to make him more sympathetic. I see it as you're stuck with that because it's the Lazarus Pit, so they make it as interesting as they can make it.
Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that's a fine idea.
Dan's Den mentions Jason Isaacs as Ra's al Ghul. That's another thing that makes this feel kind of animated series to me. Is that vocal performance is not too far away from the animated series.
Is that supposed to be Gordon?
I actually forgot that that's who that was. That's cool.
Yes.
I didn't even catch that he was in this at all.
I mean, it's less embarrassing than being Brainiac in the new Suicide Squad game.
You gotta love how Joker gags all of the henchmen, but not Black Mask, just so that Black Mask can have a line in the scene. I don't know why. I don't know why he did that.
Because it was funny.
I guess he just
Who
wants to
knows
talk to
why
him.
Mad Men do what they do?
It's like Joker's just got to prove how dumb Black Mask is. He's like, you're just like that Ra's al Ghul. You thinking you can control me? That's so dumb. Why would you think that?
Well, no, he was like, I'm the Joker, but I'm not like funny. So I need this guy to be the funny person.
Why does Joker repeat the same line here that he had earlier? The Mater D versus motorcycle fetish. Why does he say the
He says
exact
the
same
exact same
line?
thing.
I wonder that too. He's like really hung up on that.
And it feels like an intentional choice. Like I think that's one of the funnier things he does, but I cannot decide why he's doing it.
He's just really insecure about it.
How do you feel about DiMaggio in that role, Austin? Because that seems like a divisive
Oh,
thing where people go back and forth on it.
I like DiMaggio quite a bit in this role because Joker's weird. Where I feel like we've had a couple that are like really definitive. That then a lot of the other voices we have are just kind of copying that.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why
And
what I like about both this
DiMaggio,
Batman and Joker is neither of them are trying to do anybody else.
Yeah, and DiMaggio's so different. Like Greenwood is, but like at the same time, he's doing the kind of like grumbly voice you kind of expect for Batman. Uh, DiMaggio is just not like any other Joker. I guess the closest
Yeah,
is maybe the Batman cartoon one.
and only in that they're so low in the register.
Exactly, and it's only in that. Exactly.
Okay, so I kind of dominated the conversation earlier, talking about how convoluted I think this manipulation plot is. Jason, how do you feel about it? Like when you get to the scene and Red Hood reveals that he orchestrated all of this and got Black Mask to go get the do you buy that?
Um, I don't know. I don't know how he would have known any of that. I don't. Yeah, like it. I don't think it's needed. Like for him to have. I feel like that just gives an excuse that he would even hire the Joker. I feel like that's the only. Is that like. But like it's still not a good excuse at all because like he didn't actually. So I don't know. It's
Yeah,
not.
yeah. Can't he just take the opportunity to go and act his revenge now, or to try to teach Batman a lesson? Right? Like I gave the alternative that I kind of want now, which is just he kidnaps Joker in the first place. But it wouldn't even have to be that. He could just be doing his big plot to take over Gotham, and then this happens, and then he just takes that opportunity and he just pivots his plans. Why does it have to
Could
be
you
a
maybe have
manipulation
done,
plot?
could you maybe have done something because you have, Jason kind of taking over different gangs and stuff. Could you maybe have had him kind of get to somebody like in Black Mask's inner circle and kind of win them over and get them to kind of put that in Black Mask's ear,
That's
maybe?
better. I still don't think it has to be a manipulation plot at all, but
Hmm.
if it does,
No, I'm
that's
just
better.
questioning. Yeah, I don't know.
Because once Joker's, although, would it maybe feel too convenient that he went to the Joker? Maybe it's still the same problem, where it's like there's all these other people you can go to, but it's only the Joker, so that Red Hood has this opportunity to go beat him with a crowbar.
Hmm. That's what I
So
mean, but
your
it's like
idea is,
actually.
so then your idea maybe is better, because I keep thinking it just
Mhm.
doesn't, he just doesn't have to orchestrate it in the first place, but maybe he does, or it seems too convenient that we've got the Joker here at all.
Mhm. Like maybe it's not Mercy that he's like gets to, and maybe she can be like, oh, um, this guy's crazy. Like, what if we kind of fought fire with fire? Like, kind of like set him down that path. You know what I mean? As opposed to him going to it just on his own.
I love the evolution of suits in this, and they took that from the book. But I like that they translated that to this. Where in the past he's got the
Hmm.
circle,
Also,
and
I
you
love
got the
this
two Robin
Batmobile.
suits.
This Batmobile is really it takes everything I like about all the Batmobiles and puts it into one, and it even has the face.
Jason's a
And
big
it's
fan of the '50s car with
that's
the
my
face in the
favorite
front.
Batmobile is the '50s car.
The battering ram.
Yeah, and it's that on top of like kind of the TAS car, and a couple other things, and I don't know, it works really well.
Yeah, I like this Batmobile quite a bit. I think the only design thing that it has from other stuff that I'm not a fan of is like the middle fin on top of, or like just behind the roof. But outside of that, I really like this Batmobile.
And that's a giant improvement over the source material, because that book has one of the dumbest looking Batmobiles I've ever seen,
Really.
and it looks
I
nothing
don't even
like this.
remember.
It's really stupid. I wish I'd pulled up a picture of it. I'll show you later. It's bad. It's got this big like curved fin thing in the back.
Oh
It's
no.
really strange. It looks like it's got a handle. Let me read some super chats. Bob the Hun, $5 super chat. Jason says it's not the Lazarus pit. He says that Batman would like to believe that. His line is, "It's easier to believe it turned me rabid." Oh, okay. So you're suggesting that the movie is telling us there that that's not what did it. That's also like somewhat unreliable narrator.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think Raish is implying that he might have come back more crazed, the way he freaked out on everybody and ran off. But the question is like, is that the Lazarus Pit, or is that just he's that traumatized? Like, if you think about everything this kid has gone through, he might as well have gone through a Lazarus Pit. It almost doesn't matter that he's got a Lazarus. You know what I mean? It's like the Joker putting on the mask. It doesn't do anything to him. He's just that messed up already.
Yeah, I mean, he did have his head caved in with a crowbar.
So almost all of this dialogue is verbatim from the book.
Oh, okay.
Why does he still have his mask thing? Like, even
Like the
off
domino
of the
mask?
red, yeah, he's still got his domino mask under the Red Hood mask.
Because it's
I
an
love
iconic
masks on
look.
top of masks. It could be worse. It could be the Red Hood mask under the Arkham Knight mask. And for all we know, he could also have a domino mask under that Red Hood mask.
So, Jason, that's done because I mean, it was that way in the book, and I think it's that way in the book because it had already become kind of iconic to people in Hush. That, like, when we first see him again, he's got the domino mask. But I think practically you do that for the same reason that Batman will sometimes have an extra mask covering at least his eyes under his cowl, which is if your cowl came off, then at least you're still, at least by comic book logic, your identity is still somewhat protected.
Well, especially considering this, like, Red Hood mask is a bomb, too. Like, it could also just be he has a mask under there so that, last case scenario, we can use that Red Hood bomb.
Now, I do think it's funny that Batman puts his mask back on in fighting Jason just because Joker's going to show up here in a minute. And he can't see him with the mask on.
Oh, of course. Batman knows that the Joker's going to be in this climax. He's got to put his mask on.
He's got to get his mask back on. So I do think it's funny that Batman earlier says you're ruling through intimidation, because Batman also uses intimidation. It's a different brand of it, but we do in both versions of this, we do throw around terms that we kind of define however Batman wants to define them. So it's like we've made some kind of a distinction between fear and intimidation, where it's like, well, Batman does intimidate people. He's just being more selective about it than Red Hood is, and his motives are different. And Jason, while we were watching, you were complaining about all the places where, like, Batman's making such a big deal out of Jason Todd when he was Robin, brutalizing criminals. And I'm glad that we get as much of that in the movie as we do.
Yeah.
That is not a thing that, I mean, they're a little subtle about it, but if you're not familiar with this character, there's at least enough of that where you know that Batman was already worried about Jason, like, going too dark before he dies and before he becomes Red Hood. But you were complaining about all the places where Batman just gets lucky that what he does doesn't kill people. So he's got his no kill rule, but it only really works because he chooses that they won't die, so they don't die.
Blew up 2 of those, like, Fearsome 4 or whatever they're called, into the sky, and they landed somewhere. I don't know where they went. Like, how do we know that they're not dead?
But then Jason, in a flashback, kicks out a guy's collarbone, and Batman's like, "You broke his collarbone." And then Jason, my son Jason, is like, "Okay, but look what you just did."
Mister, this is the operating table. I'm the surgeon.
And that is a weird plot armor problem with Batman in general, where I think it works okay in this, even though he does get lucky that people just don't die if he doesn't want them to die, is that it's all about not just method, but also motivation, also reason. So if somebody died under Batman's watch that he wasn't trying to kill, trying to get revenge on, he'd feel bad about it and he'd maybe be more careful later. But what this confrontation is all about is killing someone for revenge because that turns you into a Batman villain. And I think it's really important, the distinction between Jason's argument. It isn't just you should kill the Joker because of all the people he has hurt that we care about, all the people that he's killed. He even says, like, disregarding all of that, what he's really upset about is that Batman doesn't kill the Joker for killing him. He's saying that Batman, and also remember, all through the movie, he's saying, I'm a better Batman than you. And what makes him a better Batman is vengeance, which is the opposite of what Batman's all about. And that's why I think it's
Batman's Neo.
That's why I think it's really important when you get to the end of the movie. And this actually happens earlier in the book, when Batman says, this changes nothing. And he's going to go about his business the same way he has been. And he still hates himself for what happened to Jason Todd, but he's also still the Batman that refuses to change.
Yeah, exactly.
It almost reinforces his ideology.
I do prefer a Batman that is just straight up pro-life and anti-killing, as opposed to the more modern take that Batman's kind of weak in his morals, and if he kills one person, he will just always kill. I do wish his end speech was more so in that line, but that's whatever. That's just kind of modern Batman at this point.
It was more so what now? You mean just like so you want it to be the morality of, no, I can't kill anyone, that Robin or that Jason originally says it is, and Batman says, no, you don't understand me at all. You want it to be the thing that he thinks it is.
I prefer like a more classic Batman where he saw his parents die when he was a kid and now just refuses to let people die, like that kind of a thing. And like that's baked into how he acts, as opposed to the whole again, like, I do think it is like a more modern take that Batman has that, like, well, if I kill the Joker, then I'll just start killing everybody and then I'm no better than anyone. And I don't like that as much as I like just the other thing I said.
Okay.
That's like whatever. That's just kind of
I can totally see
modern
that.
Batman, I think.
I have overanalyzed this whole thing to death, and I think I'm to a place where I've really been won over on it, and I really appreciate it. That it would be so easy for Batman to become what some of his villains do, and we talked about that with Death in the Family. I think that issue 430 is also about that whole thing.
I guess, yeah. I don't know. I mean, it could kind of go either way, I guess.
I forget who says it. I meant to say this earlier, but there's a line toward the beginning about how Red Hood's outfit resembles the original Red Hood, and I'm like, only in that he has a red hood.
And he doesn't. He's got a helmet.
He's got a helmet. Like, oh, I see the resemblance. I don't. He's got a red face mask. That's it.
Something I've always had, like, since even like from the first time I saw this, I always thought it was just kind of anticlimactic, in that it feels like it just kind of stops. Like, I don't know if I get enough of a resolution by the end of this movie. I do really like that scene between them, but I don't. I feel like it just never like really hits that like high of, say, like something like a Phantasm, where even though that also ends in a very same way, like it kind of builds to like as high as it can get. Well, I feel like this, we get their big confrontation where they talk about it, and Batman makes his choice, and then we kind of go, we have nothing left. Just end it.
Yeah, I think I hear where you're coming from, but I think uh, that line in the cave that I mentioned is is all the resolution I need. When
Mhm.
Batman says this doesn't change anything.
Yeah, no, I think that last scene is really great, but it's just I don't know, just the climax itself. I think just kind of ends anticlimactically for me.
There is something about the way it's handled here that I don't like as well as the book, although I think it's also way too abrupt in the book. And that line in the cave, like I said, happens earlier in that, so it's really anticlimactic in the book. I
Yeah,
I I think I like this ending even better now that I've read that. Or like that left me with this just big empty feeling. I didn't know what to do with it.
I think part of it too is again like just as a movie in and of itself. Like I feel like there's just kind of more to happen after this, where
Do you
like I
just
almost
need
kind
some
of
sort of an
need more.
epilogue, or
No, like I feel like there's just more that would happen with this character, and we kind of just go, it's over. Like I feel like this is the end of just a piece of a series as opposed to the end of a movie.
yeah? No, I think that does hold it back a little bit. And even if you didn't,
But I love the actual ending.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and I think that's the thing that pushes over the top for a lot of people that consider this
Mhm.
like iconic and masterpiece territory. Is that best day of my life line? Just turns the knife so hard, right? Like
Mhm.
that's
Oh, it's
that's
great.
such a great choice. Just hurts your
Mhm.
feelings.
Yeah, no, it's really tragic.
But what I'm conflicted about this. I'm trying to decide how I feel about the change in uh, what happens with the ultimatum from the book to the movie. Because, like I said, I'd never read the book before, and I always thought it was a little weird that Red Hood or that Jason points the gun at Batman.
Yeah, I always had that.
Whereas like you pick me or him, and thematically I like it because the person he's really mad at is Batman.
Mhm.
It's not even about the Joker at that point. It's that I feel like I have proven to you that I was right all along, even in life before I died, that we need to be taking out the scum instead of like letting any of them live and really control the city and fix it. And I when he's trying to get Batman to do what he thinks he always should have done, which is kill the Joker to prove his love for him. And so thematically, aiming the gun at him to say, "You're the person I really want to kill right now." Because like I'm seeing you as my arch nemesis, I'm the real Batman, and you're the twisted parody of Batman now.
Mhm.
So that idea is cool. I don't know what he thinks he's gonna do. Like he's aiming the gun at Batman and he's saying you choose. And at that point, is it? I just don't feel like he held the gun on the Joker long enough. And I feel like Batman dropped the gun too quickly, and I think that part of it works better in the book, where it's this big dramatic moment where he's saying like you have to pick me or him, and Batman keeps saying I'm not going to like no, and but he holds the gun, and that just lets him keep that confrontation going for a second. Here it just all drops real quick, and then he aims it at Batman, and I'm like, and when he keeps saying choose, I'm like, but then what? You're gonna shoot Batman? And it's a little awkward.
Uh, no, I think it works in this because I think by that point it's just a kid like yelling at his dad for essentially rejecting him to a degree. Um, no, I think that works in this place because Batman's like fully walking away at that point, and that's when he turns the gun on
Well,
him.
that's true.
Uh,
The other thing is, and I don't know if this was changed to make it to make it less violent, where somehow they felt like this was a bridge too far, because this movie gets pretty rough. But in the book, Batman doesn't throw his batarang into the gun. It goes into Jason's neck.
Mm.
Oh, I vaguely remember that.
And
That's probably like too far. Like I don't think this movie's like that rough that it would have been able to get away with that. I don't think, but I mean
I
maybe.
don't know, you have like the beating with the
Dark Knight
crowbar
Returns
and
goes to some places, but that's after this.
no, that's true. But I do think that works better. Like I think it turns the knife harder because Batman really is. Although you could say that the movie now has a somewhat different interpretation on it, because Batman is not trying to kill Jason, but he is, making a wound that's bad enough it could kill him, and so he is kind of picking between them at that point. And it's like his morality matters more to him than Jason's life at that point. But he also would see Jason as this, again, like twisted version of himself.
Well, especially since he does like a turnaround like spin throw. It's lucky he doesn't hit the jugular.
Yeah, yeah. But when Joker says, "This is perfect," and no one wins, no one got what they wanted, it makes a lot more sense in the book.
Mhm.
When Jason's like bleeding from the neck when he says that, I, and then, in the book, you still have an explosion there, but it isn't Jason Todd planting explosives. The Joker blows up something that makes it blow up. I can't remember what it is. Uh, and this kind of does a mix of both, where it goes, well, Joker wants this to happen, so he tries to keep them all there when the explosions happen. As I guess
Yeah.
like a perfect poetry where because in the book he calls I can't remember what exactly it is, but he's got a line about how the three of them are like in a play, like in a dance together, and this would kind of like be the ultimate ending for him of that. I wish he had a line like that in the movie, but
Well, you could have said it, I guess, when he says, "What is it like? Nobody wins, just me," or something like that. When he
yeah,
gets on top of Batman.
which is also directly out of the original version.
Hmm.
Robert, my problem with that is it
Yeah.
looks too much like Batman is trying to kill Jason. It plays okay
Hmm.
in the book
Yeah, I think
because
it's
it feels
better.
like it does watch like, or it does read like it's the only way he could have handled it. And I mean, I guess this gives us an alternative, but I I don't think I would have thought of the batarang going into the barrel of the gun if I hadn't seen it happen. So if I was just reading that book, I think I would buy it. But
No, I think if he's gonna do like a more violent one, it would be in the hand. I feel like the neck is going too far.
that's fair.
Especially when it's I'm not gonna pick which of you is gonna die. Instead, I'm gonna stab you in the throat.
That's true. And I'll stab you, but not the Joker. Like somehow you're worse than the Joker. Yeah. Like I said, I was conflicted about it because I just read that, and just while I was reading it
It
kind
was
of
working
played
for you in the
better
moment.
in the moment.
Hmm.
But as we're talking it out, no, you're probably right. But something about that confrontation always played a little bit awkward to me. And
Hmm.
now that I've read it and I see what he's riffing on, I kind of get why it was weird. But I guess it's maybe an improvement.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way he does it in the gun and like the gun explodes is maybe easier to convey animated, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, probably so. Uh, Jason, before we go to tweet length reviews, did you have anything else you wanted to bring up about this? Because you didn't really get to talk a whole lot.
Oh yeah. No. It's still a solid movie, especially for like we talked about this. Especially for a DC animated direct-to-video thing. That's a lot of words. Um, it's I was definitely seeing a lot more of Phantasm and Return of the Joker. Watching this again, and I don't know. This makes obviously. I don't know what other things do with this character, but this movie, I don't know, it made the character of Red Hood seem interesting, and I like how he's portrayed, and I don't know, I've said this before, but I prefer more of a crime story in Batman, or more of a like a crime boss against crime boss sort of story with Batman. And I don't know, seeing that animated is fun. And yeah, just the I don't know, everything with is Batman actually good at helping people become his sidekick, all that stuff was interesting.
Is it a good idea to conscript children into your war on crime?
Yeah.
I guess it just depends on which children you choose, according to this. It isn't that you shouldn't choose children, it's that you got to see the early warning signs that they're going to kick people in the neck too hard. That's very important.
Or stab them in the neck too hard.
No, that's okay.
Well, that's what you,
actually,
that's
made even worse by the fact that the... Sorry, what?
That's what you do if they kick people too hard. You stab them
in the neck, yeah. No, that's made even worse by the fact that was still there. Yeah, no, you're right. Forget what I said. That shouldn't be there.
No, I have a question for you, Jason. Do you prefer Joker as like forward swing or as backhand?
Yeah, no, that's a
good question, isn't it? It's hard to decide.
There's pros and cons to both, really.
Yeah, I don't really. I'm noticing there's too many explosions in this movie. Like, that's just how everyone dies.
There's almost as many explosions as the number of times Jason Todd cuts a line with a knife. And I do really like the setup and payoff with that's the tell that he is trained by Batman. Mm-hmm. But it is funny the sheer number of times he does it. He just keeps doing that. I guess that's a really important trick to learn when you're a Robin.
Yes.
Like, only Robins know how to cut the line when it's not taught.
That's Jason Todd's signature move. If Joker had done that instead of hit him with a crowbar, then Jason Todd would still be alive.
He just keep cutting his lines. He's like, God, what am I supposed to do? All I have right now are lines that aren't taught. Also, Jason was talking about how he likes crime dramas with Batman and like wars with mob bosses. Amusingly, Phantasm also has that baked in. Mm. It's crazy just how... I mean, you're right. Like, just how much Phantasm is already in this movie.
Yeah, I want Black Mask and Phantasm.
Oh, that'd be fun. Did we ever have a TAS Black Mask? I don't remember.
No,
he's in the Batman.
That was Is he in the Batman?
Yeah.
That's a character that I was not even familiar with until I read No Man's Land.
Oh, okay. I always forget. I think because he's in the Batman, like for some reason, I sometimes think he's in TAS. Okay.
Yeah,
and he looks more like Red Skull in this than he does anywhere.
Oh, sure.
Well,
it's because he's got the big cheeks.
yeah, exactly. And in the comic, he's got that giant Red Skull smile.
Mm-hmm.
There's some really cool art with him in that. I like the art in that book. Chewbacca's Lover, $5 super chat. Joker is repeating the line because he's saying it to two different people. Red Hood hasn't heard that line, even though he said it to Batman earlier. Yeah, no, I
but
get
for the
that,
audience,
but
it's funny.
But it's an odd thing to do when you're writing a script, is all I'm saying.
You gotta do that in a book at some point.
I just like...
just have someone just say the exact same
I just like
thing.
the idea that Joker likes the words he's putting together so much he can't stop saying them. Whenever there's somebody new in the room, he's like, "No, I'm gonna say it again." It's like he's like earlier he was practicing.
Yeah.
Well, what I find funny about it is it's like the first time it seems like a joke that he's making. The second time it's like, oh no, it's like a real insecurity he has. He's genuinely mad.
Pros and cons guy, $5 super chat. This is the second time they adapted Death in the Family, which is better. We actually talked about this the other night when we reviewed Death in the Family, but he's talking about this versus Return of the Joker. And I don't know
Return
how
of
to.
the Joker's better, but this is better as a Death in the Family thing.
Yeah, I don't know how to compare them because I think
Yeah.
I think that's just proper for that material. Like, I, they've got parts of Jason Todd built into Tim Drake and giving him that kind of tragic backstory going into Batman Beyond. I think is just really creative, and it
Yeah.
feels just as tragic as this, even though he doesn't actually die. In some ways, it feels almost more messed up. It's like it's really twisted. Maybe I technically like that better just because I don't want Jason Todd to like I like this, but I generally just don't want that character to come back. And in Return of the Joker, we kind of got to have the best of both worlds where he's not dead, so we don't have to resurrect him, but he ends up being the red herring. And then it turns out that he is sort of the bad guy, but only in that Joker has taken him over, which is part of why it's all messed up and twisted, because Joker turned him into that other character, and now that's the body that he's possessing.
Well, and Return of the Joker is my second favorite Batman movie of all time. So I mean, it's better as a film, but as an adaptation of Death in the Family and whatever Jason Todd stuff, this is better, obviously, because it's Jason Todd and not Tim Drake. But as story wise, I feel like
I think as a tragedy that hurts my feelings more.
I agree.
I probably like this more as an overall package, but because Return of the Joker is a movie that has like one good sequence in it, I like that sequence more than this movie. So I'll give it that, but I like this overall movie more.
Bob the Hunt, $5 super chat. Batman is supposed to be in denial. The flashbacks show that Jason was always capable of this and had darkness in him, but Batman is ignoring this.
No, it definitely is, but I think there's still a mystery to it in that he's not as dark as he was. Like before, he was just kind of rough. Well, now he's way farther.
Yeah, well, I don't know how in denial he is about Jason Todd's darkness, because I think that's baked into why he calls it his greatest failure. Because he talks about how the mistake he made was making that kid Robin in the first place, and like he should have seen the warning signs.
Yeah, and this is just he's like a little rougher. While you don't have like the comic thing where he straight up does kill somebody.
Right. But what do you think, Austin? I mean, is that straight up denial?
I don't think it's denial as much as like because he is noticing it, but it's maybe he doesn't understand how far it's going.
I think
maybe.
he's in denial about it while Jason's alive. I don't think he's in denial about it during the rest of the movie.
Yeah, for sure. But I do think there is still a question, even with that, about whether or not he's now darker because of all this stuff. Even with that.
Oh, what about the Lazarus pit and all of that?
Yeah,
if that's the point, if we're still on about that, if that's the point he's making with that,
was my assumption.
Like if Jason's right and that's what Batman's thinking, where it's easier for him to believe that the Lazarus pit messed him up than it is that he was always that way. I mean, yeah, maybe that's what they're getting at there.
And pros and cons guy gives another $2, and he says he meant Under the Red Hood versus Death in the Family, not
Oh,
Batman Beyond.
okay. Well, I mean, it just goes without saying that that this handles it better, but I mean, I can't compare them because that's really just an extension of this.
Hmm. Yeah, and I haven't seen that, so I can't comment.
Me neither.
Yeah, like that uh, rehashes a bunch of this, and then just shows you a little more of what actually happens with the flashback.
And ask
And
you
I haven't
who's
watched
gonna
all of
die.
it because I thought it was awful. It's not even feature length. I couldn't finish it.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think it's like shorter depending on what ending you pick.
Yeah, I didn't even get to a choice.
You're like, nah, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize that it was just a clip show. That it just started as a clip show of this movie, and I was like, nope. And I think I paid full
and
price
how did-
for it too.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how did you watch it? Because I think Robert earlier said that I think on streaming it's not like the choice thing. Like it just is, I guess, the canon way. I don't know.
Oh, weird. I thought
You
maybe they
mentioned
just showed
something
you
about that earlier.
all of them back to back or something. Because that's probably still not
Maybe.
feature length, even if you watched them all. But yeah, I bought the disc, and then I just didn't watch all of it.
That's rough.
Let's go ahead and read tweet length reviews. Austin, do we have any on Discord?
Yes. I'm gonna pull these up.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, we have. Oh my goodness, we have a bunch.
Oh, really?
We got 5.
We have like 4 on Patreon.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe 2 hours before we started, I just gave like another reminder, and since then we've had 4.
Wow. Oh, okay.
Do you want to
so
start, or do you want me to?
people did it during the show. No, you can go ahead. You can go ahead and start.
Okay. Chewbacca's lover says, "Have to give it a superhero. It's as good as everybody says it is. John DiMaggio is great as the Joker, and I think it's a real shame that they never use him again for anything else. Bruce Greenwood is also good. I agree with that.
And Greenwood, they have brought back. And for Gotham
Yeah,
by
he's
Gaslight,
Batman
which
in
is
Young Justice.
weird. I don't know why that specifically.
At least we got to do Young Justice, but I think some people involved with this went on to do Young Justice, but I could be wrong.
Oh, okay.
Which would explain like why they brought Greenwood over.
I'm sure I knew that at one time. Young Justice is one of those things that I never remember anything about, even though like I like the first season just like everybody else does, but I don't remember anything about that show.
Yeah, I haven't even seen all of season 1. I think I'm missing like the last 3 episodes.
You'll
I
have
was
to see
watching
that.
with my uncle
You would
when he
love that
left.
show. That seems like a very Jason show.
I mean, it's a great Teen Titans show. It's really cool.
Austin, go ahead and read the rest of yours, and then I'll just read mine down.
Okay. Abbock Stark says, my first exposure to the Jason Todd story, and it does a pretty good job getting newbies like me up to speed. All of the voice actors do a great job with their roles, and the animation is pretty good throughout. All in all, a solid storyline with compelling drama and characters. I give it a superhero rating. Subject 879, my first exposure to Red Hood as a character, and I think it holds up as one of the best animated Batman movies.
I thought it was just going to be
but it's
the
good enough.
exact same.
What's that say?
I thought it was going to be
Yeah,
the
yeah,
exact
exact
same
same
review. Sorry.
It's got problems, but it's good enough I can overlook them. Rating superhero. Lord GB, poor man's Mask of the Phantasm, but pretty fun nonetheless. DiMaggio is a great Joker, and this movie is probably the best Black Mask adaptation yet. Rating hero. And then finally, MattBat68, a vast improvement on the source material and one of the best animated DC films to date. Rating superhero.
Well, somebody else said poor man's Mask of the Phantasm. That's amazing. Good job, Gabe. Daniel Davis, have some issues with the Amazo fight. That's not Metallo. So I should have read these in the order that they came in. But Bag, for some reason, thought that was Metallo. And there's
He's nothing like a Metallo.
yeah, I don't know why you said that. And there's a bit too much punchy action in general, well executed as it is. Otherwise, though, it's one of the better straight-to-video DC animated films. I think from now on, Austin, when we're complaining about fights that go on too long, we need to steal this and patent punchy.
See, I was thinking like when we do the decades later soft reboot sequel to A Clockwork Orange, we can have the main character be like, "I'm going in for the old punchy."
I like that it forces Bruce to confront one of his greatest fears and biggest regrets, and it does so in a way that I find very convincing. While the animation is quite good and expensive for a straight-to-video film superhero.
Expressive, Dad.
Yeah, good call. What did I say?
Expensive.
I'm tired. Victor, Batman's no-killing rule feels foundational and essential to his character. However, to hang an entire story on it and deconstruct it so thoroughly ultimately makes the storytelling spell break down for me. It's a bit like over-explaining the Force. So while I think this movie is expertly made, with very well-written, well-animated, well-performed scenes, the core concept fails and leaves me asking logic questions instead of being swept up in the drama hero. That's interesting. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I have that to some degree just on this viewing. Because, like I said, it was like falling a little flat in a way it never had before.
Well, there is that problem again that Jason was talking about, and I've talked about this in other videos, of course. The idea that if you bring too much attention to the no kill rule, you start noticing all the places where people ought to be dying and they aren't. Like that is a big place where it does kind of break down. This is not the only Batman thing that has that problem, but he is right that the whole idea is hung so hard on that. I don't think I feel as strongly as he does about it, and I think that that again is just baked into the original story. So I mean, you would have to change the whole point of it to get away from that. I think. I do appreciate that the confrontation is so similar. It's not a totally different ending, because it's one of the only things that works really well in that book to me. Except I think you guys have won me over on the knife in the throat's probably not a great idea.
Actually,
they probably shouldn't have done that.
Oh, I think that's better, actually.
Okay.
No, I disagree with you on that. Or I mean, I
You should have
disagree with
stabbed him
Austin
in the
on that. I agree with you on that.
No, I mean, the two Batman films we could be doing next both have moments where I'm like, wait a minute. With the no killing things. Yeah, it definitely comes up a lot in adaptation, especially.
Justin Hayes, the Metallo fight is really lame. And the exposition...
You're right, it was so lame we didn't even get to see it.
We didn't get to see it. And the exposition thugs in that scene are laughably bad. It's otherwise... Oh, no, it's hilarious. It's otherwise a nearly flawless Batman story about principles and regret, with my second favorite voices for both Joker and Batman. I generally hate bringing Todd back at all, but this sells me on it completely and ends up being my fifth favorite DC movie overall. Legend. Is that our first Legend?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. I want to say Bag got to see like a different universe version of this film where the exposition and the Metallo fight is even worse, where they're like, that's Batman. He's philanthropist Bruce Wayne. He once had a Robin and he was killed, but that's his other Robin, Nightwing.
Oh, and that guy that just came out of a crate, that's Metallo. He's run by Kryptonite. I don't know why he's here in Gotham not fighting Superman right now.
His one strength doesn't really work against the person he's fighting, but at least he's a robot, so he's still strong.
He's more powerful now than he's ever been. We don't know why.
He's got more kryptonite in him than he's ever had before.
But yeah, real quick, just going
Beautiful.
back to that other thing, the idea of it being like over explaining the Force is interesting. I wouldn't think to go quite that far with it. I also need a little bit of an explanation for the Force. um, like I don't want that to be
That's
completely.
magic. A wizard did it.
Oh, okay, okay. Like,
I mean, it is fantasy. I don't know. I don't need an explanation for the Force.
no, I guess I just mean like rules, like how it works, and
Oh yeah, but I mean that's with anything. Yeah.
but I guess if he's saying he doesn't need an explanation for like, the origin of it and how it works, I guess that pertains more to this. Maybe that's what he's saying.
Yeah, I got the sense of more like the metachlorian of it all.
Okay. Where it's like we don't need to get that deep in why Batman doesn't kill. It's just his. I mean, like we know enough about it. Like his parents died, and
His no kilochlorians are way higher than even Master Superman.
Joe Turner is so good that I wish more authors got to revisit their stories in animated form. Me too. It's more tightly written and often more mature than the comic it's based on, and is further elevated by the amazing performances. I think DiMaggio is in the running for best Joker since Hamill. If I had to complain, I'd say a few of the fight scenes with non-Red Hood characters overstay their welcome. I think we're all with him on that, and often feel like distractions from an amazing emotional core superhero. And it feels like it's part of that mantra that a lot of these had, especially as they went along with like what are characters we haven't thrown in there yet, and get a fight with just like random things that show up, and that's not always the motivation behind it here because Amazo feels like that, but for some reason he's in the comic.
I mean, they could be like, don't cut Amazo. We've never done him.
Yeah, maybe so. There's another point I wanted to make earlier that I forgot about, and then we can get into our ratings real quick. I always thought it was cool how subtle the movie is about background and lore stuff, that it doesn't feel the need to come right out and spell out, like when Jason toward the end says like our friends that he's crippled, and like that he's talking about Batgirl, but we don't have to come out and say who he's talking about. There's a couple other examples like that also, and I always thought that was the movie doing that to not have to deal with like specific background things, and that's just if you know, you know. All of that is in the book exactly the word for word the same way, which I was really surprised by. And the thing he says, I guess it's in the same scene where he says like, I'm not talking about killing Penguin or Dent. That's also in the book.
Oh.
And because I
remember that line in the book.
Because I thought maybe he said Dent in the movie to, and maybe this is also that way or there because of this in the book. But I always thought that was thrown in for people in the audience that know that that's who killed his father. Because Two-Face killed his father, and it's like we're not going to get into that. But if you know, you know, and that was not actually written for the movie, which I thought was interesting.
It would have been cool though if Barbara was in this movie. That would have been neat. But I guess it doesn't really need her that much. But it would have been cool to have like another character that's also on this line between him and the Joker.
Well, she could have had the exposition instead of the thugs in that fight. You know, she could be there to tell the audience things that she would know that these thugs would not know.
I want it to be the same dialogue though, like just Nightwing walks in and it's just like, oh, it's Nightwing. He was his original Robin.
He was the original Robin. And then Batman and Nightwing are both on comms. They're like, we all know all of this. Why are you telling us that?
Yeah, exactly.
Austin, how are you going to rate this one, man?
I'm gonna give this a solid hero. In the past, I probably would have given it a superhero, but I think at this point, it's kind of been shaken down to just like pretty good, but more so like in the middle. But like I said, at the end of the day, I do think this is a better film in their line.
Well, I can't wait to see most of these as villains now.
I mean, yeah, pretty much. Just like I said, there's like 5 that won't be, but and we've done 2 of them already, so
Yeah, I think
it's
overall I like
exciting.
some of this line better than you do. I hesitate saying that because then there's that whole period where I hate most of them.
Well, that's the thing though, Cap, is it cuts both ways. Where most of it's like not even bad enough for me to be like angry about. Like it's more so just like, eh. This line's kind of just shovelware. Just it exists.
Yeah, see, I don't think it's until you get to a certain point. I don't think it's quite that generic.
Mm. No, I mean fair enough. Like I
And
said, it cuts both ways. Where like it's that goes for the bad ones too. They're just kind of there.
yeah, I'm still going superhero. I think there was a time where I would have gone legend with this. I know it got a 4 out of 4 in the old written rewind.
Hmm.
I don't think it would go quite that far now. And mostly just because I'm on about the mass manipulation plot. Right? I think it's so massively unnecessary. Uh,
Hmm.
but it still does the big thing that should be impossible, which wins me over on the idea of bringing Jason Todd back in anything, and in making a really great case for Red Hood as yet another really good psychological foil for Batman. Like him as the anti-Batman that's doing what he thinks Batman should have always done is really compelling to me.
Hmm.
Where would you put
Yeah,
it on
for
the scale,
sure.
Jason?
I'm also putting it as a superhero. I don't know. It's just a fun little 70-minute movie. I don't think
It's
it's
shovelware.
I don't think it's super. I don't even think if it was bad, it would be that bad just because of how short it is. So it wouldn't be above other movies just because of how short it is. But I don't know. It's got a little bit of, as we said, a little bit of redundant action, but especially with explosions. But it's I don't know. It's a really good take on just how um, y- how Batman is supposed to work, and like you said, how the villain is the anti of how Batman is supposed to work, and it just takes us more into that. So yeah, overall, um, still a good movie.
Yeah, I do like not to keep arguing with Austin, but I do really like the distinction Batman makes when he says it would be too damn easy. That like he would love to kill the Joker, and like maybe I'm with you a little bit, Austin, where I don't know that I need him to go as far as to say like I know that if I killed him I would just magically not be able to stop, but I like the distinction of it isn't that I just can't bring myself to do it because of my moral code. It's that you need to understand I have to fight myself every waking moment not to do it. I really like that.
Yeah, and I just don't. I prefer a Batman who not killing is so like deep into his core that he wouldn't even vocalize like, yeah, I wish I could kill the Joker, but I don't. Because I feel like that makes his morality a little questionable. Where you go, oh, you're basically coming out and saying your morality's stupid.
Well,
But I
but
don't
I
know.
think there's a grain of truth in what Red Hood's saying, where he says that Joker is an exception. Like if Batman was like that with a
Mhm.
lot of his villains, like I'm with you on it, but the Joker is the exception, and also
Mhm.
I mean when Joker looks or when Batman looks at the Joker, he's looking at his exact opposite and everything he's fighting against. I
Mhm.
and he's also looking at the second Robin is his greatest failure, and Joker is such a part of why that is. Like, so I don't know.
Mhm.
Within this context, I personally I really like that whole speech, but
Mhm. Yeah, like I said, this just not really. I've like grown to like that take on Batman a little less and less. I don't think that's really the character for me.
Let's go ahead and go to rankings, and I actually will probably put this lower later. I ranked it after I watched it earlier in the week, and I watched it again today, and looked at the book, and I thought about it more. And after the viewing we just had, I think I would go lower on it. I had it at 7. I had actually over Return of the Joker, but I think after this discussion, I would put it even a notch or two under that. So it's probably after our discussion, I probably even put it just under the Suicide Squad. So it's probably at 10 now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I was just pulling up your list.
Oh, you're fine. And then we'll see where Austin put it. Austin, have you already ranked it?
Yep. Yeah, this time I remember it. I know I've been bad for it the last few times, but this time I actually remember it.
Yeah, and he put it all the way down at 28. Austin is my opposite. I think I'm looking at my Joker here whenever we do these reviews now.
Yeah, and I moved some of mine around today because last time when we looked at our list, I was like, I don't know if I agree with some of these choices, and I moved some of them around.
It's
as
worse
well.
than Batman Returns.
Yes, easily.
Okay.
Yeah, Austin likes that movie quite a bit.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that that placement makes sense. I did kind of struggle on if I was going to put it above or under Daredevil and Days of Future Past, but then ultimately decided to go under.
Well, folks, I think all we've got left to do now is decide on next week's review, and I forgot to grab a coin. Austin, do you have one close?
I have one just in the other room. I can go grab it quickly. It'll take me 30 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead and do that. Thanks, man.
Okay, no worries.
Sorry, guys. Give us just a second here. Tyler says the thugs knowing Nightwing was Robin isn't that weird. It's obvious if someone paid attention to the comings and goings of Robin. I guess, but just the way they say it, it's like they've got this intimate knowledge and the history of that, and it's odd. Like they should be more speculative about it, where it's like, I mean, I'm pretty sure that guy used to be Robin.
That
I have a Canadian quarter here for you.
Oh, cool! Look at that.
Wow.
It looked like it had a squid on it or something. What is that?
That's a deer.
Oh, it's a
Well,
deer.
I can see that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then on the other side, you have Elton John.
Why is Elton John on your money?
I don't know, England.
Okay, so
yeah.
yeah.
No, go ahead. You call it. Which one's which?
Well, I've got to tell everybody what we're even doing first. I was just waiting for you to get
No, I
back.
know, but yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
So we've got 2 big anniversaries this year for major Batman movies, and I just realized it last week. I was like, oh wait, we should probably do at least one of these. Which one is it going to be for Batman? And I figure we'll just flip a coin and pick. And the other one we may do another time this year, or we may save it for down the road. And we don't have to do everything on an anniversary, but I figured one of them we got to do that. So this year marks the 20th anniversary for Batman Begins, and it marks the 30th anniversary for Batman Forever. So next time, and we're not going to do a rewind next week, but the week after, in 2 weeks, we'll do either Begins or Forever, and Austin is going to flip a coin. So Jason, which one should be heads?
Forever, because.
Oh no! Heads always wins. Now it's gonna be forever.
Let's see what happens. Is that
Am
just
I
because that's
just
the
doing
one
how
you're
it
hoping?
ends, or am I doing
Two-Face.
like the snap on the hand?
Well, see, I figured you'd make it tails because of Two-Face.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because of his scarred coin.
Am I just
Well, maybe it makes more sense to be heads
because
because they're both heads, but there's one scarred. I'm sorry, what Austin?
Am I just catching it, or am I doing like one of these, like in the action?
You know, it's up to you. I think it's just as random either way you go.
Okay, I
As
wasn't
long
sure
as
if you
it
had like a
flips, as long as
specific
it
thing.
flips around
I
a
wasn't
couple
sure if it's
times.
like when you play cards with a specific person, they're like, "Oh, you didn't deal it right. Hold on, no, we got to do this over." Okay, so heads is forever. Okay, let's go. That did not spin at all. Hold
You gotta
on.
make it spin. You gotta spin it a little bit.
Yeah, that like went up perfectly straight. You guys ready?
Yeah, I really appreciate the sound effect.
It is heads.
Yes.
I told you it's always heads. Heads always wins, like 80% of the time. It's
Is that
statistic
true? I don't know
fact.
if that's been my experience with heads. I don't know.
Well, if you start it on heads, then it's more likely going to be heads.
It was tails facing up, so
Maybe I'm wrong.
Maybe if you're Austin, it's just always heads. Maybe it's
Always.
just the weight of coins in Canada.
Maybe.
yeah, Elton John's just like way lighter, so he goes to the top every time.
Okay, so 2 weeks we're gonna do Batman Forever. It'll be like the 15th time I've done a commentary on that movie. We'll just let Austin complain the whole time, and
Well, Chewbacca's lover says, "Please be begins," because I don't want to hear Austin crap on Forever. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't want to have to rain on your parade.
that's what's gonna happen though. But we'll try to have as much fun with it as we can. Thanks a lot for watching, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon with lots more stuff here on the channel.
We hope you like the next Superhero Rewind because it keeps us safe while we're jogging at night.
You said that so sinisterly.
That was great. Once again, you can become a Patreon producer at the $10 tier at patreon.com/geekvolution. One of the perks with that is you get your name read at the end of every episode of the Superhero Rewind Commentary Project. And this time, I'm going to let Jason read all the names. Jason, do you see the names here?
Yeah,
So,
when does it end?
At the end of the $10 tier. So once you get
Okay.
the $5, those people don't get thanked.
Okay.
We'll thank them in general. Thanks to all of our patrons, but especially the people Jason is about to
Yeah,
say.
and
Go ahead.
apologies if I say your username wrong. It's 1238. Jesse Surtees, Chewbacca's lover, Dr. Hello, Elliot Slater, Goofster123, Joe Turner, Joe Gira, Super Billy, Vic Apocalypse, Victor, Abok Stark, Adam March, Checkers the Inventor, Damon McGay, Hot Soup, Invisipig, Kareem Roberts, Kate Blaze, Matt Bat 68, Matthew Brody, and Michael Martin.
Good job, Jason. Those are the Patreon producers.
That's them.
Yeah, everybody in the comments is talking about the Schumacher cut. It'll be kind of interesting knowing that that's out and maybe will get released commercially at some point.
Has there been an update on that? I felt like it's just kind of been in the ether for like forever.
People brought that up last night. Apparently, there was news about it, and it's being shown somewhere again, and so there's a lot of talk that it might finally get released.
It's getting an official screening in Los Angeles on the 29th.
Oh, okay. I wonder if it's the same one, because I know the one that they did the screening for like last time, like didn't have like proper music, and I think maybe it hadn't been like properly like color corrected and stuff like that. I can't remember exactly, but it was like very much not finished. So I guess like
Interesting.
if we hear things from that, like if it sounds like it's maybe had work put into it, maybe I don't know.
Maybe there's
Unless
more
they
chance
just
that it
release like an
actually gets-
unfinished cut, I don't know.
Well, it's kind of unfortunate if they can't get it out on video this year because it is the anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool if we could have
Yeah,
gotten that
for
this
sure.
year.
Because I want to say like it just uses music from the first two, but I could be wrong about that. It's been a while since I looked into that initial screening.
Oh, that's weird.
I just remember reading like, oh, it's got like temp tracks and stuff in it.
Okay. Well, anyway, we'll have to see what people say about that after it gets screened again. Well, guys, thanks again for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll see you again next time. I was Captain Logan. This was my son Jason, and Austin the Day Ghost.
Good night, everybody. Next time there's going to be carnage.
Bye, everybody.